Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm here with Fatty once again, continuing with my dating stories. This has been a very interesting process. It's bringing up so much pain. There are things that are coming back to me, and even though I have no feelings for the person anymore, I am just like sending my younger self so much love because it's just so painful to reread these like over a decade later and see what I was going through. So this is somebody that I met back in 2006. So I was 28 years old. I met him at Neutral. I was there with my Taekwondo Master Lee, for some reason. Such a strange place. So I was looking for Master Lee and I bumped into this guy and I think I tried to kiss him. I don't know. I used to do crazy things when I was younger. So he was 25 and I was 28, and I literally wrote in my journal like that I was way older than him, which is hilarious now because it's like, what's the difference, honestly? So he got my number, like he was a gentleman and stuff, but he got my number and he called me the next day and set up a first date and took me to like a super cute restaurant. I think it was on Markham Street, which I haven't been to, not Markham Street. Kind of like, oh my God, it doesn't even matter, but now this is driving me crazy. There's a little side street in Toronto that has all these really cute restaurants near Dundas and University. I totally forget what it's called at the moment. Not going to dwell on that. And it was the night before my 28th birthday. And he had called ahead and gotten, bought a cupcake and called the restaurant ahead and had them like deliver the cupcake to us for dessert with candles and stuff. This is a first date. This is blowing my mind because first dates now are nothing. He was this over the top romantic, so very romantic dinner. And then he gave me a bunch of options that we could do after. Sorry, I'm gonna have cat hair like throughout this whole video. He gave me a bunch of options, but one of them was to go back to his place where he had bought a bottle of champagne and he had set up like little s'mores for us to make. And he was a total gentleman. Like he was really sweet. He was a 6'3" guy with dark hair, like kind of a Beatles cut, and like brown eyes and like big lips, like a little bit of a baby face. And absolute gentleman that night. Like he was really entertaining. He told these great stories, and didn't try anything with me. It was really nice. He was in advertising, so there's that. So I'm going to call him Don Draper, obviously. And he continued with the romantic dates. Before our second date, he dropped some cupcakes at my house, so I came home and there was cupcakes. And our third date, he takes us to medieval times and buys this like literally giant goblet. There was a night that we went out drinking where we went back to my place and an entire bottle of wine fit in this stupid medieval times goblet. So there's that. So he was just doing over the top gestures like that. And I introduced him to my friends, my two high school friends, Matt and Nick, who that's actually their names. I'm never ever going to say anything bad about them because they're amazing. And they thought he was such a douchebag. So it's funny that they were seeing things that I would probably see now, but I did not at the time. So that night, we just had kind of like a zany like drinking night. And out of the blue, he tells me about some threesome or foursome that he had with an ex-girlfriend. Okay. And it like made me feel insecure at the time. And I have this a lot on dates where men tell me about things from their past that frankly are none of my business, and they just send me into a bit of a tailspin. I don't know how to react to stuff like that, and I don't know if other people take these things in stride, but it just, receiving input like that makes me think, like, do you need threesomes? Because I'm not your girl. It makes me feel inadequate. It makes me feel like a little bit jealous. It makes me feel things that I can't really articulate. And I do have a problem with people talking about their sexual past without context, without purpose. I don't know how you're supposed to take that. So I got a little bit upset, and then he saw that and was like, she forced me to do it. She pressured me into it. I really wasn't into it. The next day I felt suicidal. I've just always really wanted a nice girl. I want to get married. I don't want to have kids. And you're so nice and blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, okay, like, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to judge somebody on their past. I just find it a little bit weird when you don't know somebody and they bring stuff like this up. I have no idea how to take it. And it just, it makes me feel inadequate, quite frankly. It makes me feel like maybe I'm going to be too much of a prude. A lot of things. So that was our first kind of like, ugh. And again, this relationship is following a lot of patterns that, like, it just feels like I've been in the same relationship, like freaking Groundhog Day over and over again. And it's just, it leaves me feeling like an absolute shell of a human being. So he was really busy being a copywriter, which is fine. And so there was like one night that he said he was going to come over at 7. He came over at 9, but he didn't text to say like I'm going to be late or anything. And these are the kind of things that make me feel uneasy inside. Like, this is somebody who's going to let me down. This is somebody I can't quite trust. I don't care if you're late. I don't understand why you don't just let me know. I don't understand a lack of consideration like that. And I get a little bristly because things like this have happened to me in the past, and the guy just kind of thinks I'm like being unreasonable and overreacting. And I don't understand why you can't just be considerate of my feelings and my time. It floors me. So that's where things start to loosen up. And for me, again, it's just like a quick little text, like, I'm stuck at work, I'm going to be late. And of course I'm going to be supportive. Like, I'm proud of the work that you're doing. I think advertising is a very interesting field. I mean, there's a lot of shallowness and stuff like that, but any type of writing I find interesting. So of course I'm going to support your career. It's just, don't leave me in the dark. Which he did a lot. He did it in that way. Oh my God, cat hair. Sorry, guys. And he also he wasn't really emotionally available either. At that time, a friend of mine who was a professor killed himself. He jumped from his apartment on Gloucester Street, and I went to the funeral, and I was bummed out that day, and Don Draper didn't call me, which upset me. And he wasn't there for me during that period. I was also experiencing like a medical condition where my nerves fired for no reason, and it caused nerve pain. So I disclosed that to him, and he like literally said nothing. This isn't the first time I've had a guy just not give that emotional support back. And again, I'm not asking for anything over the top. It's just, maybe check in to me when I go to a suicide funeral. Maybe say something when I'm telling you about a very painful medical condition. Like, there were days I would be in pain for hours and hours and hours, and it was very, very difficult. And I was very worried about my future at that time, that this condition was going to get worse and it was going to be disabling for the rest of my life. And I tell him, and he just has nothing to say. So again, this is where I don't understand, is this a disconnect between men and women? Is this just somebody who has a different way of handling things and is not going to be as sensitive to my needs? But I tend to find this guy over and over and over again, and I don't get why they can't give me what I need. And then it starts to just make me feel crazy and demanding and naggy and insecure. And nobody wants to be with that girl. But when I look back on these, I just see that this is somebody who is like not interested in me or not compatible with me. I don't know. Honestly, I'm struggling with this to this day because I think it's a basic human need to have somebody who's considerate, who writes you back, who calls when they say they're going to call, who tells you when they're going to be late. I need somebody who's emotionally available, who's gonna, give you sympathy when you're disclosing things that are hurting in your life. And I wasn't getting that. And I was just starting to unravel with him. Because again, I'm dating somebody who is like telling me grand things. He was saying like how much he liked me and I'm the best, like the most attractive girl he's ever dated. And he's always been looking for somebody like me. So he's telling me that. He's also doing these grand gestures, buying dinners, like dropping gifts off at my house. But then there's not the intimacy. That is intimacy, people. Like the more I read and the more I experience life, that's intimacy, is emotionally connecting with somebody, learning about who they are, and being considerate. And I don't know if those are things that you can't give because you don't want to be in a relationship with that person, or I don't know if some people just can't give, or a combination of the two. Like, I don't know if grand gestures and words are shallow or if they're a replacement for real intimacy. But it's not enough. Like it's fun. It's fun to be in that fun, shallow world for a little bit, but it's not a real relationship. And I wonder, like, do other girls get hurt by these things? Do they not notice them? Do they just suppress their needs? I have no idea. Because from the books I've read, it is very common for women to want men to know their internal lives. There's different things that men and women need. And this is generalizing. Obviously, there are, exceptional cases, but it is very, very common for what a woman looks for in a relationship is for a man to take interest in her internal life and understand her. And that's what I've always been looking for. But it has been received with silence or defensiveness. And hey, like, I'll take part of this and say, maybe I'm not doing it right. Maybe I'm doing it too soon. Maybe I'm expecting too much. I honestly don't know. I do have people in my life that meet my needs, and it doesn't seem difficult for them. It flows quite easily because we're like-minded. So this is something I've always struggled with, because I meet an emotionally unavailable man after emotionally unavailable man, to the point where I just really question whether men even want intimacy. But I'm a human. I'm complicated. I have dimension. I have an internal life. And I want to feel safe. And those are the things that make me feel safe. Listen to my feelings. Be there for me if I'm having a hard day. I don't find that it takes much at all, but it seemed to be the great divide between me and many of my boyfriends. So where this relationship went down and crashed and burned was one night we were going to Sweaty Betty's. Oh, also, sorry, sidebar. He said he quit. He worked at the Drake. I can't even handle this. And he said he quit the Drake to spend more time with me. So there's like all this like going into it, but it's like you're not doing the tiny, teeny little things that really build a foundation for me and build that trust and connection. Just kind of leaving me hanging, which makes me feel anxious and it makes me feel vulnerable. So we're going to Sweaty Betty's. We're on the streetcar, and we go past, I don't know if it's still around, but there's like a lingerie shop or sex shop or something called Misbehaving, and they used to have like live model, like lingerie models or something like that in the windows. he said that him and his friends would pull up lawn chairs and like watch the ladies. I just went into full silence. I was hurt. I don't personally, I've experienced being objectified so often in my life. It does not feel good. And I felt for you and your dumb bro friends to pull up lawn chairs to just objectify women makes me feel icky in the pit of my stomach. And then you think that that's an okay thing to tell your date. So I was very hurt, and he just said nothing. And then he got mad at me, like I was being unreasonable. It's not like he was trying to understand where I was coming from. What a gentleman. What a gentleman. So he gets mad at me. We have this like weird silent night, and he ends up breaking up with me. So I was devastated. I felt like I was calling him to a higher standard. I was calling him to maybe understand how being objectified hurts, and he was like putting it on me. And again, I feel valueless in these relationships. Like, it doesn't matter that I'm the most attractive girl or funny or smart. He also said I had the best personality of anybody he's dated. But it doesn't matter, because my feelings don't seem to matter to you at all. You don't want to really truly get to know me. Then I don't know, we talked a bit. We went back to my place, and he like changed his mind, said he didn't want to break up. At this point, I was just feeling so raw and vulnerable that I just didn't have the strength to say, yeah, no, like, obviously we should be broken up. I can't get back together with somebody, like, who just broke up with me. That's crazy. Yeah, so we talked a bit more, and in the morning, he broke up with me. And it just was brutal, and I'm trying to kind of salvage something. I don't know. I was just so desperate at that point. It's not even like these guys are ones that I'm falling in love with or anything, but there's something about it that just hits my wounds so deeply. And it's almost like I'm living the relationship from my wound, not from my whole being, which is ultimately what I want to have. So he's at the door, and I'm kind of like, I hate leaving it like this. And he was just like, at least you got the medieval times cup to keep. Oh my God. It's so cold and so heartless. And that is the last time I ever spoke to him. Oh, so, and then it was painful. It was very painful to get over him and to get over the situation. I feel this with a lot of relationships where they're saying how much they like me. They're buying me things, doing grand gestures, telling me, that I'm attractive and I have a great personality and all this. And then I kind of show some of my standards. Like, can you be considerate of my time? Can you not talk about sex in a vulgar way, whatever, like, and I don't understand why that's too much for somebody. I don't know. I don't get it. So I'm home in Kitchener that Christmas, and I'm talking to my biracial friend, which I brought him up in the last video, and I'll bring him up again because he was in my life for about 10 years here and there. And he says to me, Elizabeth, that's why I never considered dating you long term, is because you have all these like weird sexual hang-ups, and you're just such a prude and closed-minded or something. I don't know, some stuff like that, which really hurt me, because all I was asking for was be a gentleman. Don't talk about how you were objectifying these lingerie models in front of misbehaving. Like, I don't get it. To this day, I don't understand that. I mean, if I said something uncouth and somebody called me on it, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, let me fix that. But guys are always just like, what is your problem? Like, ugh. can we not talk about sex in a disrespectful way? Can we not talk about objectifying women? Like, can you not understand why that's something that I don't like? I'm at a loss here. If anybody has any answers, I would absolutely love to hear them. Because it just, this breakup was very, very painful. It left me feeling very rejected, very robbed, very confused. I didn't want to be naked for a while. I just could go to bed with my clothes on, and I felt depressed and listless and wasn't really enjoying time with my friends. And I felt desperate in a weird way too, where I just wanted him to take the pain away. I just kind of wanted to run to him and be like, can we just take it back? Like, but it's not about him, right? It's not about like, oh my gosh, I met the love of my life. It's about a situation that just crawled in and punched my deepest wounds and vulnerabilities, and now I'm left to kind of rebuild that. Now I see that I'm older, like it's rebuilding it on my own. I have to find my own value, because I've just had somebody that just really tossed me aside for reasons I don't get and rendered me valueless, no matter how nice, how good looking, how whatever I was. When I feel like I am asking for basics, I feel like I'm asking for consideration, respect, and consistency. Why is that difficult? I see now that the wounds inside of me are activating the wounds inside of him. I'm dating wounded men because I'm wounded, and it's like we're just activating each other's wounds. And it's horrible. It's horribly painful, and it's horribly psychological, because there's enough in there that's hooking me in so that I get connected, and then it's just kind of like ripped from under me. So there are people that meet your needs. I am feeling more hopeful and more confident about this. And I'm kind of seeing like, it's just that these are guys I need to stay away from. Like, when I see a red flag, I need to stay away from it. When there is somebody who's just casually talking about their sexual past and not giving me any context, I need to walk away. When there's somebody that's not reliable with plans, that says they're going to call and they don't, I need to walk away. I mean, obviously these like little things like this happen. They happen with friendships and stuff like that. But my friends, I trust. My family, I trust. So if they drop the ball, it's not a big deal. The trust is there for me to not care and understand. But at the beginning of a relationship, the trust is not there. So be on your best game. I've had years of men thinking I'm unreasonable or thinking I'm exhausting, and I just want these basics. I don't know why that's hard to give. I conclude, once again, they were not that into me. I'm wounded, and it's almost masochistic. Like, I'm participating in this kind of exquisite pain too, thinking maybe pain is a part of a relationship, but there's no repair there. And the repair is the important part. And at the end of the day, as much as I want to be loved and I want to have a relationship that's healthy for me, I also want to give my love. I want to give my affection. I want to give my admiration and my respect. If you're telling me how you and your friends sat in lawn chairs and looked at these lingerie models, I can't help it. I don't respect that. Whether or not biracial thinks that I have hang-ups, that's his opinion. I don't consider it gentlemanly and respectful. So no, in these cases, I'm not going to be the woman who gives you admiration and respect, because it's not there. So, of course, you're not going to feel good. And I, at the end of the day, I just do want to make somebody feel very loved and very accepted and very good. But it has to be, it has to be a two-way street. This is just who I am. I accept myself for who I am. I have value, and it just needs to be the right match. And it'd be nice if I find it, because I really think men are fantastic, and I do want to give my love and my admiration and my respect, but the intimacy and the emotional availability needs to be there. It can't be me giving and feeling devalued, basically, like a shell of a human, like just too vulnerable, too anxious, like I'm having to give too much of the benefit of the doubt with no explanation. So I don't know. I guess other people aren't hardwired that way. Or maybe they can give other people more chances. I don't know. I don't care. That's my story. And it's been very interesting to go back, because I'm seeing things a little bit more clearly. And it's amazing how I literally have the same dating story over and over and over again. So I don't know. I hope this helps some people, even if it just makes you feel like you're not alone. Or if anybody has any feedback for me, that would be absolutely amazing, because these are things that confound me, and I will be telling Ricky Scott about these, and he's always such a great source of understanding and reassurance. Ultimately, I think my lesson with Don Draper was value yourself. I was jealous of his career. I felt like my career was stagnant at the library, and I just thought he had this exciting career of advertising, which, by the way, he did get fired by the advertising company he was with. But now when I looked him up, he owns his own company. It's a whole thing. But I think I have always, women kind of get these messages all over the place, that they're not enough, they're not pretty enough, they're not, they have to be a certain way, and I've never, ever, ever fit that mold. And I don't know, with men like that and dating like that, it just feels like it's not two-way. Like I have to keep quiet and grin and bear it, and I can't do that. I want more, because I want to receive more, and I also want to give more, because I am capable of that. And I shut down if I'm not getting the respect, or seeing that you're respecting other women, if I'm not getting that consideration, if I'm not getting that emotional availability, I'm sorry, I just shut down. And I hate these relationships where it's sort of like the darker side of my personality, my wounded shadow side. That's not where I want to come from in a relationship. I want to come from the loving side. People have always told me that I'm kind, I'm considerate, I'm thoughtful, I'm supportive, I'm consistent, I'm responsible, and I want to give, and I'm affectionate, and I'm loving, and I want to give those. She can attest to this, right, Patty? Well, you can, yeah. I'm a pest too. I'm a pest. Really, Fatty? I swear to God. Anyways, thanks so much for listening. Thank you for being on this journey with me, because even though it's painful, it is releasing a lot, which is amazing. And I just want to wrap these wounds up, because I have a lot to give the world that's positive, and that's when I want to be blasting at everybody, is just love, love, love. So namaste from me and Fatty. All right. Mwah.